Richard Mayhew lived a quiet life. He worked in an office, ate lunch at his desk, and returned to his small house on Wellington Street every evening. It wasn't much, but it was his. The house, a creaking Victorian, had been in his family for generations. Richard loved its worn floorboards and the smell of old books that clung to the air. Richard often felt a strange connection to the house, a sense that it held secrets. He spent his evenings exploring its dusty corners and hidden nooks. One chilly March evening, Richard noticed something he hadn't before. There was a cold draft coming from the back of the basement, a place he rarely visited. The draft was persistent, like an unseen hand beckoning him forward. Curiosity piqued, Richard ventured deeper into the basement, drawn towards the source of the mysterious chill. The draft led Richard to a far corner of the basement, a space shrouded in shadows. He ran his hand along the damp stone wall, feeling for the source of the cold air. The wall was rough beneath his fingers, the mortar crumbling in places. As he explored further, Richard felt a strange vibration, a low hum that seemed to emanate from the wall itself. He paused, his heart pounding in his chest. What could possibly be causing that sound? He pressed his ear against the cold stone, listening intently. The hum grew louder, almost like a faint whisper now. It was then that Richard noticed it, one brick, slightly out of place compared to the others. Intrigued, Richard ran his fingers over the loose brick. It wobbled slightly under his touch. With a grunt, he gave it a firm push. To his surprise, it yielded, sinking inwards like a button on an ancient mechanism. Dust and debris rained down from the disturbed wall as the brick shifted. Richard coughed, waving a hand to clear the air. As the dust settled, he saw that the loose brick had revealed a small opening in the wall, just large enough to peek through. Heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement, Richard picked up a nearby piece of broken wood and used it to clear away the remaining mortar around the opening. The gap widened, revealing a narrow passageway beyond. A sliver of light, faint and ethereal, emanated from the passageway. It illuminated a set of worn stone steps leading downwards. The air that wafted from the opening was cold and stale, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and something else, something unfamiliar and ancient. Richard hesitated, his hand hovering near the opening. What lay beyond that wall? Was it merely an old tunnel, a forgotten remnant of the house's past? Or was it something more, something truly extraordinary? The allure of the unknown proved too strong to resist. Taking a deep breath, Richard squeezed through the opening and stepped into the passageway, the loose bricks scraping shut behind him. Section 5. Stepping through the wall. The passageway was narrow and cramped, forcing Richard to hunch over as he descended the steps. The air grew colder and damper with each step, and the faint light from the opening behind him dwindled, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. He fumbled in his pocket for his lighter, his fingers trembling slightly. With a flick, a small flame ignited, casting flickering shadows on the damp stone walls. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light, Richard realized the passageway was opening up into a larger space. And then he saw it. A vast cavernous space sprawled before him, stretching as far as his eye could see in the flickering light. Towers and spires rose from the ground, their silhouettes barely discernible against the faint ethereal glow that seemed to emanate from the city itself. Richard emerged from the tunnel, his jaw agape in astonishment. He stood on a ledge overlooking a city unlike any he had ever seen or imagined. It was a city seemingly frozen in time, its buildings crafted from a strange, luminous stone that pulsed with an inner light. Cobblestone streets, strangely deserted, wound their way through the city. Ornate lampposts, their flames long extinguished, lined the avenues, casting long, skeletal shadows in the eerie glow. The silence was absolute, broken only by the sound of Richard's own ragged breathing. Who were the people who built this place, and what became of them? Richard felt a shiver run down his spine. He was utterly alone, lost in a city that seemed to exist outside the boundaries of time and space. Driven by a thirst for answers, Richard began to explore the abandoned city. The air was thick with the weight of history, and every step he took seemed to echo with the voices of those who had once walked these streets. The city, though silent now, felt alive with the memories of its past inhabitants. He walked for what felt like hours, his footsteps echoing on the empty cobblestones. Each echo seemed to carry a story, a fragment of a life once lived. The streets, though deserted, were filled with an invisible presence, as if the city itself was watching him, guiding him through its labyrinthine paths. He passed by shops with their wares still displayed, frozen in time. The goods, now covered in a thin layer of dust, told tales of a bustling marketplace, of merchants and customers haggling over prices, of a community that once thrived here. Homes with tables set for meals never eaten. The plates, still arranged neatly, seemed to be waiting for their owners to return. It was as if the city had been abandoned in a hurry, leaving behind a snapshot of daily life, now eerily still. The city was a mausoleum of memories, a testament to a civilization lost to time. Every corner he turned revealed another piece of the puzzle, another glimpse into the lives of those who had once called this place home. As he explored, Richard felt a strange connection to this place, a sense of belonging that he couldn't quite explain. It was as if he had been here before, in another life, or perhaps in a dream. A sense of belonging that he couldn't quite explain. The city seemed to recognize him, to welcome him, as if he were a long-lost friend returning home. It was as if the city itself was whispering its secrets to him, sharing its stories through the rustling of unseen winds. The whispers were faint, almost imperceptible, but they filled him with a sense of purpose, a need to uncover the truth. Sharing its stories through the rustling of unseen winds and the soft glow emanating from its very walls. The walls, though ancient, seemed to pulse with a life of their own, casting a gentle light that illuminated his path, and the soft glow emanating from its very walls. In one building, he discovered a library with shelves upon shelves of ancient books, written in a language he couldn't decipher. The books, though old and fragile, seemed to hold the key to the city's secrets. In one building, he discovered a library with shelves upon shelves of ancient books, written in a language he couldn't decipher. The books, though old and fragile, seemed to hold the key to the city's secrets. He could almost hear the voices of the scribes who had penned these texts, their words echoing through the ages. In another, he found a grand hall with faded tapestries depicting scenes of a vibrant, bustling city, a stark contrast to the desolate silence that now surrounded him. The tapestries, though worn and faded, still retained a hint of their former glory, a reminder of a time when the city was alive and thriving, a stark contrast to the desolate silence that now surrounded him. The vibrant scenes depicted in the tapestries seemed almost surreal against the backdrop of the empty city. It was a poignant reminder of the passage of time, of the rise and fall of civilizations, and of the enduring power of memory. As the days turned into nights, Richard found himself enveloped in the enigmatic aura of the hidden city. Each sunset brought with it a sense of wonder and trepidation, as the city seemed to come alive under the cloak of darkness. Richard found himself drawn deeper into the mysteries of the hidden city. The ancient ruins whispered secrets of a bygone era, and every corner he turned revealed a new piece of the puzzle. He slept beneath the ghostly glow of the city's strange light, a luminescence that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the city itself. The nights were filled with dreams that felt more like memories, as if the city was sharing its past with him. He ate the strange but edible fruits he found growing in deserted gardens. These fruits, though unfamiliar, sustained him and seemed to imbue him with a deeper connection to the land. He tried to piece together the story of this forgotten civilization, meticulously examining ancient artifacts and studying old manuscripts. Each discovery brought him closer to understanding the people who once thrived here. But the answers remained elusive. The more he learned, the more questions arose, leaving him in a constant state of curiosity and frustration. The weight of his discovery pressed down on him. It was a burden he hadn't anticipated, a responsibility that grew heavier with each passing day. He was the sole keeper of this secret, the only living soul who knew of the city's existence. The isolation was profound, and the silence of the city echoed in his mind. The only living soul who knew of the city's existence. He moved cautiously, aware that any misstep could mean the loss of invaluable knowledge. He felt a sense of responsibility, a need to understand and protect this place. The weight of his duty was immense, but it also gave him a sense of purpose. A need to understand and protect this place, even as he yearned for the familiar comfort of his own world. The treasures he guarded were not just physical, but also the knowledge and history of a lost civilization. Even as he yearned for the familiar comfort of his own world, he missed the warmth of his home, the laughter of friends, and the simple joys of everyday life. He knew he couldn't stay here forever. The city, with all its mysteries, was not his home. It was a place of discovery, but not a place to live. He missed the warmth of the sun on his skin, the gentle caress of a breeze, and the vibrant colors of the world outside the city's confines, the sound of another human voice. The silence of the city was deafening, and he longed for the comfort of conversation and companionship. But how could he leave this place behind, knowing what he now knew? The knowledge he had gained was invaluable, and the thought of abandoning it was unbearable. Knowing what he now knew? The decision weighed heavily on him as he stood at the crossroads of his journey, contemplating the path that lay ahead. One day, as if guided by an unseen hand, Richard found himself back at the tunnel entrance. The air was thick with anticipation and the shadows seemed to whisper secrets only he could hear. It was as if the tunnel itself was calling out to him, beckoning him to step inside and uncover its mysteries once more. He stood for a long moment, torn between two worlds, the familiar comfort of his everyday life and the tantalizing unknown of the hidden city. His heart raced as he weighed his options, feeling the pull of both realities tugging at his very soul. He could stay, lose himself in the mysteries of the hidden city, or he could return, forever changed by what he had seen and experienced. The hidden city promised adventure, knowledge, and a sense of belonging he had never felt before. But the world he knew, with its familiar faces and routines, also held a certain allure. Taking a deep breath, Richard stepped back through the opening, the familiar world of his basement greeting him like a long-lost friend. The scent of old books and the soft hum of the furnace were comforting, grounding him in reality. The loose brick slid back into place, sealing the passageway behind him. It was a simple act, yet it felt monumental, as if he were closing a chapter of his life while opening another. Life on Wellington Street resumed, but Richard was no longer the same. The mundane routines of daily life now seemed infused with a deeper meaning. Every face he passed, every sound he heard, felt like a reminder of the hidden world he had left behind. He carried the secret of the hidden city within him, a constant reminder of the wonders that lay hidden beneath the surface of the everyday world. It was a burden and a gift, a secret that set him apart, yet connected him to something greater. His life was no longer ordinary, for he had glimpsed the extraordinary, and that knowledge had changed him forever. The hidden city had opened his eyes to the magic and mystery that existed all around him, and he knew he would never see the world the same way again.